What's old will be new again. We've been witness to this time after time in the watch industry, whether it be the new craze for 70s style integrated sports watches or even the post-quartz crisis mechanical watch industry as a whole. Some argue then that the dress watches of old are bound for a return to the mainstream. Some argue that we're even in the midst of its return. Here, Addiesdive is attempting to capture that audience with their brand new AD2037, which borrows design elements from classic ultra-luxury chronographs from the 40s, 50s, and gone, and manages to deliver it at a great price.
So let's take a quick peek at this watch. Starting with maybe its worst feature is the bracelet, or a strap in this case. It's this black alligator strap with a butterfly deployment. The leather here is not quite as supple as you'd expect or want. Perhaps for the price range it's par for the course, but it detracts from the watch nonetheless. But once again, from there, it's really uphill. The case and the dial and even the movement are pretty great for the price. Inside there's a Seiko Mecha Quartz. Of course, that means there is a 24-hour sub-dial at 3 o'clock, and there is a chrono minute counter at the 9 o'clock. Here it is with the chrono second running. Leaf hands, all silver. There is no lume on this watch, of course, it being a dress watch, that's expected. And beyond that, everything works and looks as it's supposed to. I really love these downturned kind of cylindrical lugs. And the lugs aren't too long, which means this really does fit well. It's relatively small in diameter as well. So perfect dimensions for a dress watch, and I have really no complaints looking at this watch. Maybe besides the leather. So let's give it a closer look.
Brand in question today, Addiesdive. A Chinese brand mostly known for, of course, dive watches. They're known for their faithful homages, but they often deliver a product with pretty insane value. Sometimes under $100, like today. It is really easy to see why Addiesdive is one of the more popular Chinese brands. It's a great product for a great price, but don't expect much in the way of customer service. Getting back to price, this is $99. With its looks, the material, and even the movement, you'd expect a higher price, and really we should be comparing it to something like the Dan Henry 1937, or even the Furlan Mari chronograph. The only real difference between these? The price, and that this has mineral glass instead of sapphire. The case on the AD2037 is exactly what you want it to be. Cases on dress watches are supposed to be simple, polished, and relatively small, which is all what you get here. The case is a simple circular design with relatively short, downturned lugs, and it fits great. The lugs are drilled so strap changes are easy as well. All the top surfaces, including the tops of the lugs, are polished, while the side and back are both brushed. One quirk is that it's actually sort of sterile. As you just saw, there's a big logo on the back of the watch, and there is also one on the side crown, but the dial has no branding whatsoever. Back to that crown, it's push-pull, and somehow Addiesdive claims 100 meters of water resistance. That's much better than expected, where the norm is 50 or even 30 meters for dress pieces. It's nice to see that. Unlike the crown, the pushers are not signed, but they do have a strong texture and a sort of radial design that catch the light very well. I alluded to it earlier, and a less good surprise here is that it's mineral glass. Yep, not sapphire. Chinese brands are known for somehow fitting sapphire into watches that cost nothing, but taking a step back, $100 not having sapphire is not a big deal, especially for a dress piece where being rugged is not really of the utmost importance. That mineral crystal is extremely domed and has a lot of flecto when you look around. It really distorts the dial in a fun way, and it looks quite retro while doing it. It looks great. Speaking of the dial, let's get into the dial and hands, both of which classic and elegant. The handsets for all of the displays are silver leafs, and the chronograph second is the standout, being a silver needle hand. The dial is a matte black with silver sundials at 3 and 9 o'clock, both done in concentric silver rings. Applied are all the hour markers, where there's 12 and 6 in Roman numerals and batons everywhere else. Printed are the tachometer, minute track, and markers for the subdials. When in good lighting, it really looks great. But, of course, when in bad lighting, there's no lume here at all, so don't expect any performance after dark. Underneath, there's a Seiko Mecha Quartz movement, which is really the best you can get. It's the VK64, which under $500, you kind of have to forfeit the idea of a mechanical movement on chronographs besides the ST1901, which is available maybe $200. But once again, this is about as good as you can get, so you really cannot fault it. There's a 60-minute chronograph timer at 9 and a 24-hour display at 3, which undoubtedly is a little unuseful, but oh well. On my model, you can see there was an issue though. When set to 0 seconds, it misses 12 o'clock by just a hair on the chronoseconds. It's really a annoying issue because the VK64 inside, unable to realign that unless you take it out and reset it by hand, which I'm not sure is worth it. And also, we shouldn't have to do that.
Taking a look at the strap here, we have a black alligator leather with butterfly deployment. And to be honest, the leather here really holds back this watch. Unfortunately, I like the case design, I like the dial, I like the movement. I even am fine with the butterfly deployment, but the leather here is a bit stiff, and it doesn't really conform to the wrist, and so I really think it holds it back a notch. To be fair, there's drilled lugs, and it's 20 millimeters, so it's more than easy to swap it out or something. I've been putting it on a Milanese when I don't feel like dealing with the black leather. But unfortunately, the black leather actually does look really good, so I've been keeping it on and dealing with the, not very nice leather. But all in all, the strap kind of detracts from the watch, which is a bit unfortunate, but it does look good while it does that.
On screen now are all the specifications for the watch. A 38mm diameter and a 46mm lug-to-lug mean that this is supremely wearable and the perfect size for a dress watch. A 316L stainless steel mixed with 100 meters of water resistance means that you don't have to worry about it. But once again, there is that mineral crystal, so you won't want to beat it up too much. It is a dress watch after all.
And here it is on my average 7-inch wrist. As you can see, I think it fits me very well. The strap, of course, not the best, so it's a little stiff, but beyond that, I think it fits great, and it's really the sweet spot for dress watch chronograph. Dress watches tend to be quite small, and chronographs tend to be a little larger, but this strikes a good even balance. It's pretty thin, and I think this will fit most wrists pretty well.
On the left, you can see some of the obvious inspirations for this watch, whether it be that Omega or the Patek Philippe. The inspiration is clear, a lot of the elements are borrowed, but it's only when you start to see something like this Furlan Mari, specifically the Locato Nero, when you start to realize that Addiesdive, while its design does look good, it's almost entirely borrowed from Furlan Mari.
So here's the watch score. Keep in mind that score is actually aimed to describe it as a daily wear piece, where this is definitely more of a dress piece, an occasional wear. Things like not having any lume are a big detractor from that score. All in all, perhaps sapphire crystal would have been nice and a better strap, but beyond that, it's hard to find fault. Those are pretty minor in comparison to, things like the design or the case. And I think it looks great and is great on wrist. All in all, I do recommend it, and I think they're going to have some success with this model as a new release. So, in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.